Welcome back to Baking with Mrs. Lanham. Today I'll be baking red snapper. And this is Mrs. Lanham's. I bought this fish. Now what do I do with it? So I quickly went to Google on my phone and well, the first thing actually I asked the person at the fish counter and I didn't like the recipe he gave me, so I thought let's go to Google. So that's what I did. And I found a recipe and I'm going to kind of adapt it to what I had at home to make. So starting with the red snapper. Okay, that's a fillet, and then next to it a lemon, salt and pepper, olive oil. That is a sprig of rosemary. The sprig of rosemary I actually grew in a herb box I was given as a gift. So that was grown on my deck. And I needed some, the recipe called for Italian breadcrumbs. I didn't have those, but I do have some herb seasoning stuffing mix. So it's, you know, dried bread with seasoning. So I figured, what the heck, I'll just crush it up and I'll use that as my coating. So the next thing you need to see is, what equipment do we need? Well, I'm going to use a cutting board because I need to chop up a little bit of the rosemary and the lemon. So I'll be using the cutting board. I will be using the chef knife. And then I am currently have the oven set for 450 because that's what it's calling for. And I was preheating it and it is ready. And the next thing they said, I had to put the fish on aluminum foil covered tray. So I have that. And while the recipe didn't call for lemon zest, I'm going to do that because I like it. So that's the equipment I'll be using. All right. So our recipe for the red snapper that I found called for garlic and rosemary. So I'm going to show you how to work with rosemary. The herbs are very different of how you cut them or take them off the stem. Rosemary is kind of easy because all you have to do, kind of looks like a little Christmas tree, doesn't it? Pine tree. All right, all you have to do is go against the grain. You'll pull back this way and you start getting off the leaves. Pull those off the top because they're okay, and you just go down. Oh, it's so fragrant. I have to tell you, rosemary is one of my favorite. It smells so, so good. What do you all like as herbs? Familiar with any? Okay. I think it's more than enough that I need. I have quite a bit left on here. So I'll save it. Just to let you know, I had to use strong shears to cut this. This is a very tough stem this is on, but people will sometimes grow these in shapes, though, because they grow very nicely. They'll grow them the shapes of hearts or circles, things like that. But it's a wonderful aroma. All right, so I am there. The recipe calls for more like sprigs of rosemary, but I really like rosemary. So I want to chop it up now, make it fine. And the recipe did call for fresh rosemary. I happen to have that. Otherwise, I had dried rosemary at my spice cabinet. Get all back in the center again and start cutting some more. And you just want to get it fine. You don't want to be biting into any stems of the rosemary. You want to get the flavor. Get the stem there. You want to get the flavor opened up. So when it's cooking, the aroma bakes in. There's a stem there. We do not want that. We'll get rid of that. And again, a lot of this is to your taste. If you don't like rosemary, don't use rosemary. Put something else on it. It said, when I was reading the recipe, it said that red snapper takes flavors on easily. So if you like, you know, maybe you want it spicy. Maybe you like more of a sweet sauce on it. It sounded like you could do anything with it. But I saw this recipe and I thought, sounds good. So I thought I'd try it. So right now I'm just getting this rosemary very fine. You don't want to bite into rosemary because it's kind of a stiff leaf. As you can see, I've gotten it pretty small. Okay, so I think that's good with the rosemary. So I'm going to put this over to the side. There's a great tool. I don't own it. I do want to buy it. After you cut things, it's like it's a flat with a curve, and you can scoop it all in there and dump it. That's something I need to purchase. Okay, so now I've done the rosemary, and we are going to do the garlic. The garlic, I'm going to smush gently. You just want to break the covering off of it. I don't know if that did enough. Okay. And that kind of breaks off the skin. You can peel that off. And I'm definitely going to use 1 clove. These are large. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do 2 cloves. I don't know. I'm going to overwhelm it because I have cloves. Excuse me. I have garlic cloves in another dish I'm using with this. So not sure I want to use too much garlic. All right, this is being stubborn. So I'm going to cut off a little tip of it. Mush it a little bit more. Okay, let's get all this off. I'm going to take the skin off. And then, okay, that's good. Then what you want to do is however you like your garlic. I like mine I slice it and then I mince it. So again, you want to make sure your fingers are pulled in. You do not want to cut yourself. You need a sharp knife to do a good job, but it also, being sharp, can injure you. So keep your eye on the knife. As I'm looking at the ingredients here, I probably have more rosemary cut up than I need. So if I don't use it all, I'll just save it. I'll put it in a Ziploc bag, or if I have a little tiny Tupperware. It's not bad. You can use it later on. Okay, so I think 1 clove is good. If I have more than that, I think 2 is going to be too much. All right, so the next thing their recipe calls for is that I'm supposed to rub the fish down with olive oil. So I'm going to take the fish here. Ooh, this doesn't have, oh, there's the skin. Okay, because it said skin down when I cook it. All right, so this is red snapper. Never cooked it before, never prepared it. It is a fillet. They've taken the bones out of it. This is the skin side. They said to cook it with that side down, but first to coat it with olive oil. So I'm going to pour a little olive oil on it and on the other side. Okay. Alrighty. And then I am going to put some of the garlic and some of the rosemary. Let's put the knife in a safe place. Nobody gets injured while doing this. Okay, I'll turn it over. And as I said, the recipe called for it to be cooked skin down. And that is on a tray of that I covered with tin foil. And then I also, excuse me, I also coated with oil. So that way nothing sticks. You don't want anything to stick. So I think I'm going to finish off with all the herbs and everything I have. Okay, and I should have done it before I had greasy hands, oily hands, but I need salt and pepper. So I'm going to dry my hands off for just a second. And then I will use oil or salt and pepper. Okay. So this is the pepper. This is, again, seasoned to taste, however you like it. And the salt. Do that lightly because remember, fish can be salty if they're from the sea. Okay, salt again, and the pepper. All these nice smells. All right, now the next thing the recipe called for was to put this on the tray with the skin down and to put a breadcrumb coating, not heavy, but lightly sprinkled on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and put the fish on the tray. Okay, and they said skin down, so that's where I'm going with that. And I'm going to put this back on the side until we're ready for it. Okay. Now, the next thing they said we needed was breadcrumbs. I didn't have any, but I had these herb seasoning stuffing cubes. So I thought what I'd do, very noisy, and this is another way how cooking with savory, you can adapt things. So I'm going to put some of this in the bag. I don't think I need too much. It's probably more than I need. Okay. I'm going to take this, close it up. I know my cutting board is a mess, but all this is just going to go in the trash. All right. So I don't have, if I had like a mallet, I would use that, but I don't have one with me right now. So what I decided I was going to do was just kind of break up the breadcrumbs with just pushing on this. Okay, getting as fine as I can. So if you're ever missing something in a recipe, adjust it, modify it, see what you can do. Okay, so this is a while to crush these up to get them small enough. Pick up my pace. Probably shouldn't have put so much in, is my guess. Flip it again. We're getting there, getting there. And you can decide if you want it really small, if you want larger, crunchy bits. They said breadcrumbs, which is pretty fine. I don't know if I'll get as fine as that. Okay. Oh, I'm seeing getting some of it. All right. All right. That's good enough for me. All right. So let's put this on top of the red snapper. All right, I have finished crushing up the bread cubes and made them into kind of a bread crust. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the topping. I'm also going to, while the recipe didn't call for it, I'm also going to add some lemon zest. Sprinkle this on top. And the recipe had everything I liked. There was nothing in it I didn't like, so I thought, well, this is a good recipe to try. If I don't like it, I can change it up or just never do it again. I may find out I don't like red snapper, or I may find out I love red snapper. But, all right, so that's, I think, a good enough coating for the breadcrumbs. And now the next thing is I'm going to put lemon zest. Zest is the skin. When you scrape it, that's the skin, and it's got an oil to it and a flavor. It's more bitter than the actual lemon is. That's why when you're using the zester, this is a zester. It is very fine. It's a grater. It has very fine grates on it. And so therefore it makes really fine shreds, very tiny shreds of the lemon skin. And that's what they call the zest. And I like that on fish. I think it's a good taste to me. So I'm adding it on. The recipe didn't call for it. Now, when you do this, you don't want to, it gives off like the skin, some drops off in here, but that's kind of what it looks like. You can see that. So you tap that on. Now, when you're doing this, you don't want to get too much to the white of the skin, because that's where it starts to get bitter and doesn't really have the lemony flavor. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a second. I'm gonna get one more little lemons on there. Okay, so get that. All right, so finish with that. What I was talking about is, see how we're getting to the white here? You don't want to bite too much into that because that's bitter. The yellow is where you have that little bit of a lemony flavor. So that is a zester. And so when they say a zest, that means the skin, a grated skin of the citrus. All right. Now, this is ready to go in the oven. Alrighty, the oven is at 450. So we're gonna open it up and put this in. It says for 15 to 20 minutes. All right, see you in about 15. All right, the timer went off, and when I opened the oven, I guess it was too hot from the camera, and it shut down. So this is the finished product. This is my red snapper with a bread crust, lemon zest, rosemary, salt, and pepper. So remember, we were cooking with Mrs. Lanham's baked red snapper, and the recipe is Mrs. Lanham's, I bought this fish now, what do I do with it? I know what I'm gonna do with it. I'm gonna go eat it. Bye.